I'm Mitchell Renz, host of the Raiders Report, and coming up here on today's show, Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry, has been linked to the Las Vegas Raiders by Fox Sports. I'm going to break this one down for you. Also, I'm going to tell you why a trade could happen. If you think it's impossible, let me just say this. Never say never. And then at the very end, I got 3 different trade ideas around McLaurin. One from a Washington Commanders insider, an NFL insider, and then one that I would offer the Washington Commanders. I'll tell you this right now. I think you're an idiot if you don't want the Raiders to go out and try to get Terry McLaurin, because when you have the opportunity to go out and get one of the best wide receivers in the NFL and a player that has been super consistent and has always been there in terms of put up or shut up, I don't know how you wouldn't want that guy. And then when you think about the offense that the Raiders would have, if that doesn't get you just a little bit excited, I think you need to check your pulse. I know this. I'm going to like this video, and I know I'm the one that's making it. The reason why I like it, though, is because, again, when you look at the numbers that McLaurin has put up, he's put up phenomenal numbers despite having different head coaches, different OCs, different quarterbacks year in and year out. But you know what I love and I respect? He always shows up and he's been able to stay healthy. And last season he had a career year with 13 touchdowns with a rookie quarterback in Jaden Daniels. Yes, Jaden Daniels proved to be that guy, but I also don't think that McLaurin gets enough credit for the development that he helped a guy like Jaden Daniels have. If you're wondering why I'm making this video, it's because I had a lot of people ask me, hey man, do you think the Raiders go out and get McLaurin? Because Fox Sports did connect them in an article that was titled One Perfect Landing Spot for Each NFL Minicamp Holdout. And I'll tell you this, I know it's unlikely. I know there's probably a 1% chance of this trade happening. But if you say it's never going to happen, I think the NFL proves to you every single year that that's never the case. If you're saying never, you probably don't remember when the Raiders traded for Davante Adams. I know this. That was a legendary show here on this show. So here's what Fox Sports had to say about the Raiders trading for McLaurin. If I'm dreaming up a perfect landing spot for McLaurin, Vegas really sounds fun. Talk about a big swing for a team that hasn't had a lot to get excited about. The Raiders are already in decent shape for Geno Smith's first season. Brock Bowers is a star. Ashton Jeanty should be one soon. Jakobi Meyers is a solid receiver, but Vegas still needs to upgrade its receiver room. Rather than take your chances in the draft, why not ship a pick or two to Washington, lock in McLaurin for the rest of his prime, make fun of me if you want, but a Raiders skill group of McLaurin, Bowers, Jeanty, Meyers might be the best in the AFC West. Let me correct you there. I think that this would be the best offense in the AFC West. Better than Patrick Mahomes. Better than Bo Nix. Better than Justin Herbert. And I understand that Geno Smith isn't the quarterback that Mahomes is. But Ashton Jeanty, I think, is legit top 5 running back upside. I think Terry McLaurin and Jakobi Meyers might be one of the better 1-2 wide receiver duos in the league. But you'd be really hard to find a running back, tight end, and wide receiver duo that is better than what the Las Vegas Raiders had if they ended up bringing in Terry McLaurin. So coming up here, I'm going to tell you why I do think that this trade could happen. And again, extremely unlikely. I think everybody that's clicking into this video knows how unlikely this trade is. But never say never. And when you see the reasons, especially the connection's always key with the Raiders with this regime. When you see the connection, you're going to go, all right, I believe it a little bit more. I'm a deal maker. If you guys don't know that by now, you're definitely new to the show. When the Raiders went out and they traded for Davante Adams, I went live for 9 hours and 57 minutes. I'll make you a deal. If the Raiders end up trading for McLaurin, I'm going to give you a 10-hour live show. If this video ends up getting 100 subs, and maybe you're just tuning in right now, I promise you this, you're going to want to tune in if the Raiders pull up and trade for McLaurin, because Davante Adams at his press conference with the Raiders mentioned the Raiders report, and he said just how crazy this show ultimately got. If we end up getting 100 subs, I'll go live for 11 straight hours breaking down the Raiders trading for Terry McLaurin. It's going to be a movie, and I hope that you're there. So we're going to get in now to why ultimately I think that this deal could end up going down. And the first reason, it's the biggest reason. The Pete Carroll and Dan Quinn connection. I always sit back and I look at connections with this regime because free agency, the draft, it's proven true every single time I've done it. When you talk about the connection that Pete Carroll and Dan Quinn have, I don't think that can be undersold enough, because let's face it, if a big-time blockbuster deal like this is going to go down, there has to be a connection somewhere. And Dan Quinn and Pete Carroll worked with each other for 6 years with the Seattle Seahawks. And Quinn is really, honestly, he has said multiple times how much he appreciates what Pete Carroll has done for him in his career. And I think like when you're just going back and looking at the biggest deals in history, sometimes you need to have a little bit of an inside scoop. And Pete Carroll knowing Dan Quinn, maybe Dan Quinn tries to help out Pete, maybe Pete tries to help out Dan Quinn. Both sides end up winning. Let's go to the next reason here of why I think a trade could ultimately happen. How many of y'all remember, raise your hand if you're watching at home, remember the reports around the Raiders wanting a true number one receiver? I do think that Jakobi Meyers is probably one of the most underappreciated receivers in the National Football League, but I do also know that the Raiders were really looking for a one. I should also say this, that whoever wrote this article for Fox Sports probably doesn't know how much the Raiders like Trey Tucker and how impressive Dante Thornton Jr. has been, and also how much that they like Jack Besh. But what they are looking at is the fact that the Raiders tried to trade for DK Metcalf this season. And if you try to trade for DK also recently came out and said that he wanted to play for the Raiders as well. And if you know that, then that tells me that the Raiders at least had this door open. And if the door is still just squeaked open a little bit, I wonder if Pete would break it down for his buddy and Dan Quinn. Because, yes, Jakobi Meyers, Trey Tucker, Dante Thornton, and Jack Besh, Tommy Malott, that's your top 5 wide receivers. I also wonder because how many of y'all have been sitting around waiting for the news that the Raiders extended Jakobi Meyers? What if the Raiders don't want to extend Jakobi Meyers? I don't know if that's going to be the plan or not, because if they don't view him as a number one, and if they only view him as a number two, if they have an opportunity to go out and get a number one for Geno Smith, you have to wonder if they would do it. The other reason here why I think it could happen is the Raiders have the money to go out and do it. And right now, the only reason why McLaurin is even linked to any of these trade rumors is because he wants to get paid. And he wants a big-time payday. And the reason why he's not practicing or he wasn't, out there during OTAs and was skipping some of this mandatory stuff is because he wants a new extension. I'll admit, he did this a few years ago, and it ended up working for him where he ended up getting that extension with Washington, and he was able to get some more money. But right now, as it stands, the Commanders have about $21 million in cap space, which obviously, you can move money around in the NFL, and you can make it work. The Raiders obviously have enough money where they don't have to do that. They could just go out and they could pay him. But I'm saying this because if you think that the Raiders are just going to be able to go out and get the Commanders' star wide receiver and not pay him $30 million a year, I don't know what to tell you, man. It's going to be a hard wake-up call for you, because I would say the minimum that McLaurin is going to get is $30 million. And when you see how many players at that wide receiver position are making that type of money, McLaurin would be dumb, then quite frankly, he should fire his agent if he's not getting $30 million. If it was up to me, if I was McLaurin's agent, I would try to get him somewhere around that $33 million deal like DK Metcalf got, because I actually think, depending on who you talk to, I think some people would rather have Terry McLaurin over a guy like DK Metcalf. So kind of asking this question here, because if you're going to pay somebody top 10 wide receiver money, I think an easy question to ask is this person a top 10 receiver? I'll admit, I don't know who that Terry McLaurin is, but I do. No, you're okay. I was looking at him, I'm like, Terry McLaurin. It sounds like Stewie from Family Guy. Give me a yes. Give me a no. Chugs and I are off on a tangent here. Is Terry McLaurin a top 10 wide receiver? My answer is actually going to be coming up here after this YouTube ad break, and I also rank Terry McLaurin over a certain Houston Texans player that I'm sure does not make Jeremy very happy. So here are my top 10 wide receivers in the NFL. I have McLaurin at number 7, and I've said this before for anybody that's watched the show, that I have always considered Scary Terry actually one of the more underappreciated players in the National Football League. The reason why I have him above Nico Collins, injuries, and that's really the only reason why I have him above Tyreek Hill, because I do wonder if Hill's going to start taking a little bit of a step back. But he's kind of in that realm of he's a number one receiver, but I think when you combine his skill set, he's honestly like a better Jackson Smith and Jigba. And considering how good JSN was last season with Geno, you combine that with Brock Bowers, you combine that with Jakobi Meyers, and I'm telling you, this is an electric freaking offense, man. Let's go to the other reason here of why I think a trade could happen. I'm going to just put the Christian Wilkins injury out there. And again, there's still a lot of unknowns in regards to what exactly is going on with Wilkins. I was told he needs a second surgery. I was told that he doesn't want to have the surgery. He wants to try to play through it. But if you were the Raiders and you're going, I'm concerned about our defense. maybe you should just try to score a little bit more points, because you're not going to be able to replace Christian Wilkins with any player, I would say right now, out there on the open market. But if you could go, all right, well, if we're trying to score, let's say, 24 points a game, well, let's try to go out there and score 28, 30 points a game. Because I think if you go out and you trade for Scary Terry, you can afford to have a bottom defense. And I'm not saying I want the Raiders to have a bad defense, but right now where this offense is, I think if the Raiders want to have a shot at making the playoffs, you probably got to be somewhere around an average defense. That's where you got to be. If you add Terry McLaurin to this Raiders offense, I actually think that you might be able to make the playoffs with a bottom 10 defense in the NFL, just because of how much I would expect this team to go out there and how much I would expect them to score. I think the other part of that is, if you are worried about Wilkins, you might be able to restructure his contract a little bit, free up some extra salary cap space, and use that money to go out and get McLaurin. The final reason, and honestly, this also could be a part of the why this trade could happen, it fits the Raiders' plan. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I have said multiple times that I believe the Raiders' plan is to get better this season, to be competitive. Then, in 2026, you try to go out and try to get better. But I really do believe that the Raiders' Super Bowl window is in 2026 and in 2027. And if you go out and you get Terry, you get him in his prime. And you're getting him in his prime, and you're probably going to get him somewhere on that 3-4 year deal. The fact that Pete Carroll's on a 3-year deal with a 4th-year option, the fact that John Spytek's got a 5-year deal and plan as well, I just think overall, if you go out and you get Terry McLaurin, you tie him to Geno Smith, you tie him to Max Crosby, you tie him to Adam Butler, you tie him to your head coach, you tie him essentially to your GM, you tie him to the Raiders' plan. And if that's what the plan is, to give Geno a number 1 receiver, I don't know why it hasn't been done yet with Jakobi. And if it hasn't been done with Jakobi, maybe the Raiders are waiting to make a bigger splash by going out and getting a guy like Scary Terry. So coming up here next, I got some trade ideas. And again, they are not all from me. One is from me, one is from a Commanders guy, and one is from an NFL insider that we have here at Chat Sports. Before I get into that, though, if you need a Raiders 4th of July shirt, chatsports.com/RaidersUSA is the link. If you're like, where the hell can I find that link? It's in the description. It's in the comments of this video. If you're a Raiders fan, I think that these shirts are pretty cool. If you love America, Raiders plus America all together in one, and I got the hookup for you. I'm also somebody that likes to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, and because I never know what to wear on 4th of July, and it's always a holiday where we're out cooking, you're having some beers, and you're probably by a pool, I can wear a shirt that, if it gets dirty, it's all good. And I'm rocking my team as well. Though, with my Raiders legs tat, I feel like I'm always rocking this team. Chatsports.com/RaidersUSA is the link if you love the Raiders and if you love America. Let's go to the McLaurin trade ideas that I got cooking up here on the show. I'm first going to start with our Commanders host here from Chat Sports. And the trade that he gave me, I'm going to be 100% honest with you. When I did this video, I wrote down the exact trade that he gave me. My trade, I'll admit, I'm going to switch up a little bit just because I didn't think it would be fun if I showed you the 2 trades out of 3, and 2 of them were the exact same. Here's the trade that our Commanders guy said it would get done for McLaurin. Commanders get Jakobi Meyers, Tyree Wilson, and a 2026 second-round pick. So I love that we don't have to give up a first-round pick, because I'm not giving up a first-round pick, quite frankly. Jakobi Meyers, they would want. I don't know if they know they also have to pay Jakobi, so maybe instead of saying, all right, we're not going to pay McLaurin 30. Maybe you can get away with paying Jakobi like 15 mil. And edge is right now their biggest need. So Tyree, a former 7th overall pick, maybe Dan Quinn's confident in his ability to make the most of them. I think you also got to understand Dan Quinn's also got a lot of Dallas Cowboys connections, and Tyree Wilson's got a lot of Cowboys connections himself. Let's go to the next trade idea here, and this one is from my guy Tom Downey, who I think is one of the best dudes in the business in terms of being able to cook up trades. I said, Tom, what would it take for the Raiders to go out and trade for Terry McLaurin? He said the DK Metcalf trade. So here you go. Raiders get McLaurin, and they get a 6th-round pick. The Washington Commanders, they get a 2nd and a 7th-round pick overall. It's essentially the exact same thing as the DK Metcalf deal. Let's go to the final offer here, and this is mine. And again, I had to tweak it a little bit. Had to switch it up just because my trade was the exact same as our Commanders guy. But my trade offer here to the Raiders, or to Washington, it's a little bit different, so hear me out. 2nd and a 5th-round pick. This 5th-round pick that I'm throwing in here is going to be one of the comp picks that the Raiders get. Right now, Las Vegas is projected to get 2 extra comp picks, depending on how much Jermaine Pratt plays this upcoming season, basically if he starts, and also Nate Hobbs because the Green Bay Packers ended up signing him. So if I'm the Raiders, I'm sitting back going, I am expecting to have 3 fifth-round picks. 2 of those fifth-rounders are going to be a comp pick. This fifth-round pick here can be one of the comp picks. I don't care what it is. Second-round pick goes to them, and I don't really want to give up Jakobi Meyers because I would like to be able to keep him on this team. So I'll offer Trey Tucker, who's been having a great offseason. Here's the problem, though. Trey Tucker doesn't have nearly the amount of value as somebody like Jakobi does, but you don't have to pay Trey Tucker, which maybe is something that they're looking for. And after going out and getting a guy like Deebo Samuel, Deebo's going to play in the slot. Jakobi also is the slot receiver for the Raiders. Trey Tucker's a little bit more of an outside guy. And I'll also throw in, again, my guy, Tyree Wilson. If you made it this far in the video, I want to say I greatly, greatly appreciate you always tuning into the show, especially in the offseason. That is the definition of a real one. And if you're a real one, let me know down in the comments.